The sage Asita was a great meditator, and through meditation he could see or know or feel the incidents occurring in his surroundings up to the reach of his waves. Namaste to all my dear friends. Today we are going to read chapter number 4, Visit by Asita from Buddha and his Dhamma, written by Venerable Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. So let's read it. Chapter 4, Visit by Asita. At the moment when the child was born, there dwelt on the Himalayas a great sage named Asita. Asita heard that the gods over the space of the sky were shouting the word Buddha and making it resound. He beheld them waving their garments and coursing hither and thither in delight. He thought, what if I were to go and find out the land in which he was born? Surveying with his divine eyes the whole of the Jambudvipa, Asita saw that the boy was born in the house of Suddhodana, shining with all brilliance, and then it was over his birth that the gods were excited. So the great sage Asita with his nephew Naldata rose up and came to the abode of Raja Suddhodana and stood at the door of his palace. Now Asita the sage saw that the door of Suddhodana's palace many 100,000 beings had assembled. So he approached the doorkeeper and said, Go man, inform the Raja that a sage is standing at the door. Then the doorkeeper approached Suddhodana and with clasped hands said, No, O Raja, that an aged sage, old and advanced in years, stand at the door and says that he desires to see you. The king prepared a seat for Asita and said to the doorkeeper, Let the sage enter. So coming out of the palace, the doorkeeper said to Asita, Please go in. Now Asita approached King Suddhodana and standing in front of him said, Victory, victory, O Raja, may you live long and rule the kingdom righteously. Then Suddhodana in reverence to Asita fell at his feet and offered him the seat. And seeing him seated in comfort, Suddhodana said, I do not remember to have seen thee before this, O sage. With what purpose hast thou come hither? What is the cause? Thereupon Asita said to Suddhodana, A son is born to thee, O Raja, desiring to see him have I come. Suddhodana said, The boy is asleep, O sage. Will you wait for a while? The sage said, Not long, O king. Do such great beings sleep? Such good beings are by nature wakeful. Then did the child, out of compassion for Asita, the great sage, make a sign of awaking. Seeing that the child had become awake, Suddhodana took the boy firmly in both hands and brought him into the presence of the sage. Asita, observing the child, beheld that it was endowed with the 32 marks of a great man and endowed with the 80 minor marks, his body surpassing that of Shakra, Brahma, and his aura surpassing them 100,000-fold breadth from the solemn utterance. Marvelous! Verily, is this person that has appeared in the world? And rising from his seat, clasped his hand, fell at his feet, made a right circuit round, and taking the child in his own hand, stood in contemplation. Asita knew the old well-known prophecy that anyone endowed with the 32 marks of a great man as Gautama was has to career open to him, and no third. If he becomes a householder, he will become a universal monarch. But if he goes forth from the home to a homeless life, he will become a fully enlightened Buddha. Asita was sure that the child would not remain a householder, and looking at the child he wept, and shedding tears sighed deeply. Suddhodana beheld Asita shedding tears and sighing deeply, beholding him thus weeping. The hair of his body rose, and in distress Suddhodana said to Asita, Why, O sage, those do weep and shed tears and sigh so deeply? Surely there is no misfortune in store for this child. At this Asita said to Raja, O king, I weep not for the sake of the child. There will be no misfortune for him, but I weep for myself. And why? Asita replied, I am old age, advanced in years, and this boy will without doubt become a Buddha and attain supreme and complete enlightenment, and having done so, will turn the supreme wheel of the doctrine that has not been turned before him by any other being in the world. For the weal and happiness of the world will he teach his doctrine. The religious life, the doctrine that he will proclaim, will be good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, complete in the letter of the spirit, whole and pure. Just as an Odumbra flower at some time and place arises in the world, even so at some time and place, after countless cycles, beloved Buddhas arises in the world. So also, O Raja, this boy will without doubt obtain supreme complete enlightenment, and having done so will take countless beings across the ocean of sorrow and misery to a state of happiness. But I shall not see that Buddha. Hence, O Raja, I weep, and in sadness I sigh deeply, for I shall not be able to reverence him. The king thereafter offered to the great sage Asita and Naldata his nephew suitable food, and having given him robes, made a rightwise circuit round him. Thereupon Asita and said to Naldata his nephew, when thou shalt hear, Naldata, that the child has become a Buddha, then go and take refuge in his teachings. This shall be for thy weal and welfare and happiness. So saying, Asita took leave of Raja and departed for his hermitage. This was chapter number 4, Visit by Asita of Buddha and his Dhamma, written by Venerable Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. The sage Asita was a great meditator, and through meditation he could see or know or feel the incidents occurring in his surroundings up to the reach of his waves. Through this technique, anyhow, he would have had come to know about the birth of Siddhartha. As we being a very normal person, we can also judge any person to somehow about his characteristics. The sage Asita would have had great abilities to know more about a person's characteristics after seeing him. As we know that the human being has lost his natural powers, but the human being has the ability to get supernatural powers like Buddha, as we will see after attaining his enlightenment. After seeing the child, the sage Asita was very much confirmed that the child will grow and attain the enlightenment, because he could see that the world was full of sorrow because of darkness due to lack of knowledge of the things as they were, and as per as the rule of nature, it caused the things with accordance with it. Therefore, the sage Asita came to know that the child will be Buddha, enlightened one. He would make available the salvation to the people from the sorrow of life. But then the Asita will not be alive, and then the sage Asita started crying, as he had put his whole life to attain such enlightenment with many other sages. But when one would get enlightenment, he will not be alive to see him. To see our new videos on Dhamma, please like, subscribe and share, and press the bell icon of our channel NB News Study 4 into 7. Namo Buddhaya.